This program is brought to you exclusively by Binti Report.
For centuries, humanity has been chasing the sun, the ultimate source of light and life on Earth. But turning its energy into something we can use for homes and industries has only become possible in recent years.
10 years back, maybe it is one of the most expensive, but now with prolonged technology and the modification of the selected materials, now solar energy becoming one of the main energy sources.
Join us on Decimal Point as we explore how we are looking to the skies to fuel our future. Apparently, an American inventor named Charles Fritz created, then installed the first solar panel on a New York City rooftop in 1884. Thanks to the creativity of the human mind, technological advancements have made it feasible or more feasible to harness the sun's energy. Sarawak aims to have solar energy make up 12% in its electricity generation capacity by 2030. Today, we turn our focus to one of these remarkable initiatives we like to call Sun Over Water, Lighting Up Sarawak. So today, Prof, we would like to focus or highlight on the growing potential of solar energy. Could you share with us how long you've been researching on solar power?
Okay, actually when we talk about energy related work, actually I started more than 20 years back, and I work on energy materials like electrolytes, electrodes, and also the current collectors, and also energy devices. It can be like batteries, supercapacitors, and also the combination of the batteries and supercapacitors, and also solar cell. And specifically when we talk about the solar cell, we started to work with the dye-sensitized solar cell. So dye-sensitized solar cells, one of the main thing under the energy harvesting devices. So why we stopped or we didn't continue much on the dye-sensitized solar cell was it was very difficult to get the efficiency more than 10%. Even though it's very easy to do it and the materials are good, we still find it difficult to get the high efficiency. So after prolonged times, we started to work with the solar power. When we said about the solar power, this is very important, especially when we wanted to work with the smart cities. So we are also working with some of the smart cities projects which was funded by the European Union. They really wanted us to use green energy, also what they call as the cheapest energy. So this solar energy is one of the cheapest energy. 10 years back, maybe it is one of the most expensive, but now with prolonged technology and the modification of the selected materials, now solar energy becoming one of the main energy sources.
Interesting. And could you tell us about the global solar movement?
So when we talk about the renewable energy, we need to escape, or we must to find some alternative from what we call as the usage of the fossil fuels. So one of the best to go away from the fossil fuels will be the solar energy. So that is why countries are really working hard on the solar energy. But some countries, of course, they're having the issues, they do not get the proper sunlight, and there will be questions about the what I call like a solar energy, only we can use the daytime. What happened during the rainy time, what happens during the night time. So all these things are going. So the movement actually to see how this solar energy can be one of the main renewable energy for the future. At the same time, how can we use this solar energy as the energy storage, not only during the daytime, also at night, and also like a storm or rainy time as well.
Now, in the same vein, what are the economic as well as the social implications of the global solar movement?
Okay, when we talk about the economic implications, if you see like a few years back, solar energy is very expensive and very difficult for people to afford it. But now you see means people already can use it at their home as well. Even like my neighbors also actually using like solar technology. The reason being here is the materials that they are using for solar energy, the cost all had been reduced. So actually everybody can afford it. So the economic wise is good because again, solar energy is one of the cheapest energy currently. And then about the social impact, then we have to look at whether the acceptance of the people. Because you want to have a solar plantation, you need a proper land. So when you need a proper land means people will ask for like agricultural, then industry, and also people for the residential areas, all this going to be affected. But are people going to compromise for this with the solar energy? For a government and for the people, we are more focused how to get the energy. But for the common people, for them, as long as the house got the light and energy, they are fine. But we have to balance both the things so that the acceptance for the people can be achieved without compromising their need as well.
To expand further on what you just mentioned, how does the government policies and incentive play a role in expanding the expansion of solar power?
Okay, if we talk about like a government policy, like Malaysia focusing on the decarbonization and also the net zero carbon emissions. So to achieve this will be one of the main goal. So to achieve that particular decarbonization and also net zero carbon emission, we need to have a proper policy. Without the proper policy, this cannot be achieved because then everybody will do their own thing, then it may not be synchronized. So I believe we need to have a proper policy so that everybody in place and so that we can achieve that this clean energy towards the net zero carbon emission.
Yes. What about incentives?
Okay, incentive, what they can give, something like a good rebate and like a tax waive. So these are very important because mostly for this kind of solar plantation, the initial cost is very high and they need to have the ROI because always depends on the how much energy can be cost per million. So for example, based on the studies, it shows to get 1 megawatt, you need really like a 3 million ringgit Malaysia. Yeah. So to achieve that, the incentive need to be given so that some companies will volunteer themselves to start these projects. So the incentives and policies need to be in place first of all so that we can move forward.
Still in the same topic of the global solar movement, we've covered societal, economic, and also how the government plays a role in this movement. But what about innovation in technology? How would that drive this movement?
If you look at the energy storage devices, we got like batteries and we got like supercapacitors. But these things are used for like electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. But you see, means batteries normally will give you like a high energy density, but supercapacitor will give a power density. But to be used as energy storage devices for electric vehicles, you need to have a good energy as well as good power. So I can give you an example, for example, just say you got like Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt is a sprinter. He cannot do a very good in marathon, but a marathon runner cannot run like a sprinter. So these kind of things, hybridization is very important because so that we wanted to create a person who can be a good sprinter at the same time as a marathon player. So that is why innovation is very important. So this is what I'm saying about the energy storage devices for batteries and supercapacitors. When we combine, we can make a hybrid device called like a supercapacitor, called combination of both. So you can get both in one. So same kind of innovation also will be used for the solar energy as well. Because solar energy and this kind of a plant is not easy because you need to have a high cost and everything. So what we can do is we compare or we connect with the existing power energies. For example, just say we got like a hydropower. So when you got the hydropower, when we can install this kind of things in the solar together with them, same concept like what I said earlier, battery and supercapacitor, we get both together now here with the hydro and also like a solar. And even some of the what I call like a innovation now going on for electric vehicle as well, combining combining the energy storage with the solar energy. That means in the car, we'll have the batteries, and at the same time, we will also have the solar panel, so that at night you can charge with the solar energy. So this kind of innovation is always needed. On top of that, for solar energy, we are also using like a bifacial panels. When we have the bifacial panels, that means both sides you have the panels, and this also will give you a very good efficiency. And in addition, when said innovation means what kind of materials are we using for these energy devices? That is very crucial, because the conventional materials may be like a first generations. So how the first generation become like a second generation, third generation, and when we improve with a few generation, the efficiency need to be enhanced.
Yes.
Because sometimes like a perovskite type of solar cell, they can give efficiency more than 20%, but they are not safe to be used. So how we can maintain the safety, we can maintain the stability, at the same time we can enhance efficiency, and all these things are very important in the innovations. And with appropriate innovation and with appropriate guidance, and also with appropriate reference from the countries already implementing the solar energies, I'm very sure we can achieve our goal to make this solar energy one of the main energy sources of the country.
Renewable energy is a significant attraction for investment into the country, and global efforts are continuously exploring new methods to harness sustainable energy.
Several transformative projects in Sarawak are setting benchmarks for sustainable energy in Malaysia. The 50 megawatt Batang Ai floating solar farm will be Malaysia's largest floating solar facility by the end of 2024. Integrating seamlessly with the existing 108 megawatt Batang Ai hydroelectric plant. Additional floating solar projects are advancing at the Murum, Bakun and Bengoh dams, alongside ground-mounted solar system with battery support in Baram, Mukah and Kuching.
Now, Prof, based on your previous experience and expertise for projects at the ASEAN as well as the European level, could you tell us how does the floating solar power work and why is it a viable choice for Sarawak?
Okay, when we talk about viable for Sarawak, this floating solar cell is very important because Sarawak's main goal is to achieve the 10 gigawatt by 2030. So to achieve that, they cannot only depend on the fossil fuels. They need to find the alternative energy sources without affecting other issues. So one of the best alternating energy sources will be this floating solar power. So to achieve that, we have to plan properly so that we can get the maximum efficiency. One of the main things for us to create smart cities, we focus more on the renewable energy and towards the net zero carbon emissions. And this kind of a floating solar cell surely will be one of the main output, and this surely will create us for a decarbonization world.
In 2024, Sarawak is marking another important milestone for renewable energy in the region with its completion of the first floating solar farm, which will be the largest in Malaysia. Batang Ai, Sarawak's first hydroelectric plant in 1985, is host to this floating solar farm, making it the first major hybrid facility combining hydro and solar. I also agree that it is a viable choice for Sarawak. But could you also go back to tell us how does this floating solar power work?
Okay, when we talk about the floating solar panel means we place this solar panel in the sea or water surfaces, and then it can actually give us the amount of the energy. Even you mentioned to me about my European projects. So one of the European projects that currently I'm holding is ASEAN Smart Cities. Okay, this Smart Cities ASEAN Learning Network. This is more towards we create some new courses, trainings, workshops, and also more like internship courses so that we can create the awareness to the public. And for these projects, even universities from Sarawak are involved. And even our final conference for these smart cities will be held in Sarawak in next year. So when we talk about one of the main thing for us to create smart cities, we focus more on the renewable energy and towards the net zero carbon emissions. And this kind of a floating solar cell surely will be one of the main, what I call like a main output, and this surely will create us for a decarbonization world.
So Prof, how does this floating solar power complement the existing hydroelectric infrastructure at Batang Ai?
Okay, this is a good question. When you talk about the solar cell, you're talking about two different energy, you know. One is solar cell, the other one is a hydro energy. So there are two different energies. So basically what we say, normally if you're only depending on one type of energy, that means you're 100% depending on it. But when you have a complement with a two, like for example, like a good family, the husband and wife need to be collaborate together very well. For a good PhD students, a student and the supervisor need to collaborate together. So it is better to have a complement. And why Sarawak, I think, focusing on the hydropower and also solar cell, because both can help each other. So for example, just say we got like a solar energy. So this solar cell, if we can use in the already existing hydropower places, they will have already got the existing infrastructure. At the same time, due to this hydropower, there is already water there. So once water is there, so this will help the cooling system of the solar cell. When you compare to the land and the water base, so those solar panel on water will have the cooling system, and it really can increase the efficiency close to 5 to 10%, which is a lot for solar cell. So that is the advantage that solar cell get from this hydropower. At the same time, for the hydropower dam to work very well, you need to have a high volume of water. So by planting these solar cell panels on the water, so what happened here, water might not get evaporate easily. So the volume and the quantity of water will be always maximized. So that will be a main source for the hydropower. So both are complementing each other. So by the end, what we can do here is, because of this complement, during the daytime, they can get energy from this floating solar panel, whereas at night time, they can lie on the, what we call as a hydropower. So they can work very well at night, and also like a rainy day, or even some of the like what I call like a not very clear days. So both will complement each other.
Based on the Batang Ai project, what are the long-term prospects for the floating solar panel in Sarawak?
Okay, when we talk about the floating solar panel in Batang Ai specifically, this one is expected to give us about like 50 megawatt. And then they are already planning to go for the second phase. So the success of the first phase is very crucial for people to invest more on the second phase as well. So for the second phase, they are targeting like 160 megawatt, because the goal of Sarawak will be 10 gigawatt by 2030. So this success will give a motivation for Sarawak and other countries to go more on these floating solar panels. And not only that, like some other states, for example, like Selangor or Perak or even Terengganu, we can take this model and we can do it in our lake or ex-mining ponds and all these things. Because in some countries like Indonesia, even like Philippines and Thailand, they already started with this concept. When we do this floating solar panel in this kind of ex-mining place or pond, it also can be like a tourist attractions. So that means like a two-in-one. We can get the energy, and at the same time, we also can attract tourists.
I believe a great deal has to happen before getting the green light for projects like the floating solar power in Batang Ai, for example. Would one need to do environmental impact assessments or EIAs? And also, what are some of the concerns to watch out for?
Especially for floating solar panel, these environmental assessment are very crucial. This is based on few factors. The first one is this can really affect the aquatic life because of the sunlight. And the second one is the quality of the water, because not enough oxygens are going inside. This can really affect the quality of the water. For this solar panel ecosystem and for the infrastructure, we need to have polymers as well. So when polymers, normally they are environmentally not friendly. So we need to find out a proper polymers, and at the same time we must know how to dispose these polymers after we use them. So if we can take consideration of all these four elements and other factors as well, obviously we can get the what we call as the proper approval by submitting proper documentation.
There are definitely unique challenges when it comes to developing and operating a floating solar farm, from high initial costs and maintenance to governance issues and environmental impact. Looking at the magnitude and the complexities in the physical structure, what are the technical and logistical challenges in implementing the floating solar power in Sarawak?
Okay, one of the main challenges that we'll face will be the tropical climate of Sarawak.
Okay.
You know, in Sarawak, we got like a lot of rain and also thunderstorm. So this actually can affect the process, the whole process. And second thing will be the integrating the solar cell together with the hydropower. So for example, here it will be solar and hydro. If you look at the normal like energy storage and energy devices, like energy storage and energy harvesting. So battery will become under the category of energy storage, and then solar cell will come under the energy harvesting. So if you want to integrate both so that we can use both the devices together for the daily shiny day and also like a night time, so that will be the perfect. So how to get this? So that means the integration are very much crucial. So here, for us to get the energy throughout the day, the integrating solar cell together with the hydropower are very crucial. So that will be a big challenge. If we can overcome that, obviously it will be a very successful. And the third problem or challenge will be about the transportation of the materials and also the installation in the sea or in the surface of the water. If we can overcome all these things, then it will be really very good.
What about the pros and cons, the opportunities and risks economically when adopting the floating solar power in Sarawak?
Okay, when we talk about pro, obviously the main thing will be towards the net zero carbon emission. So and we are talking about more on the renewable energy, and this floating solar cell will be one of the best alternative energy sources which can use as a renewable energy, and this also can diversify the possibility of many different type of energies. So this will give us a better opportunity. And the second point I also wanted to mention here is about the foreign investors. We can get more foreign investors because they know the beauty of this type of energy for future. And another point which we can talk about here is by going towards this type of energy, we can create more job opportunities. And obviously, this kind of invention will have their con as well. So the disadvantage will be the initial cost. The initial cost will be really high, but our ROI, we can maintain that. So that is why we need to find appropriate investors to invest at the beginning of the projects. And on top of that, since we are going to build these solar panels on the surface of the water, the maintenance can be a problem. So the maintenance, for example, the algae can grow on the surface of the solar panel, even the dust can reduce the efficiency. So we can need to take care about all these things. So one of the way we can overcome this by using like a self-healing coating. So that also are possibilities. So the maintenance need to be taken care, and also we need to find appropriate investors. If we can get all these things in place, then I believe that this floating solar panel and this new invention can be a big success in Sarawak.
Prof, you also mentioned opportunities in terms of job opportunities. Now, how is Sarawak finding the right skilled workers to undertake this new technology?
Okay, when we talk about skilled workers from Sarawak. Sarawak already got like some very good universities there, and they already have the curricula and appropriate training for energy related courses. So it might not be a big problem because they already have a good knowledge about the energy storage and energy harvesting courses in their universities and also in their companies and the industries as well. This floating solar cell will going to be used the same kind of a concept, but we need to have some extra knowledge how we going to plant the solar cell in the sea. At the same time, how we going to integrate with the hydropower dams already existing in the Sarawak. So that means the curriculum already existing, the training already existing, but we need some extra input and we must bring to the next level for their knowledge so that they can work on it. In other words, the thing is already there, but we need some extra like a training, workshop or some kind of an internship, how to do it. Even since we already have the existing dam, the hydropower dam in Sarawak, we can even bring the student to do like an internship in that place so that they can expose with the real scenario. This will really help them how to going to place these kind of solar panels in the sea, and also they can really see with their naked eyes what is the real environment, how the wave, how the water current, and all these things like a real life studies. With all this point, I strongly believe Sarawak got enough talent to achieve this goal.
To address solar energy's intermittency challenges, Sarawak is making strides in smart grid technology and energy storage system. A proposed high voltage green grid utilizing the right of way of the Sabah-Sarawak gas pipeline will connect renewable energy sources to key demand centers.
The lessons from Batang Ai will be valuable for other regions seeking to use floating solar power. By focusing on sustainability, involving the community, and with sound financial planning, Sarawak can position itself as a leader in renewable energy solutions. Be sure to tune in next time on Decimal Point, where the sun always shines on Sarawak's future.
This program is brought to you exclusively by Bintu Report.